My artist name is Joji. I'm from Japan.
Give me love, give me love, give me love, give me love when I'm gone. When I'm gone. Give me love, give me love, give me love, give me love.
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking at the beginning, just, you know, oh, like, you know, what if it's whack? You know, I think everyone feels like that at the beginning, and then, you know, after the first song's received well, then it's just like, okay, well, fingers crossed, let's just keep going.
Have you ever listened to an artist for the first time and instantly clicked with their music, then continue to go back through their whole discography, watch all of their interviews and music videos, while thinking to yourself, this is amazing, why didn't I check them out a lot sooner? Well, that's exactly what happened to me recently with Pink Guy. Okay, not Pink Guy, but the man behind the iconic character, George Miller, more commonly known by his stage name, Joji. As someone who has spent the last 5 to 6 years binge watching YouTube and obsessed with music, I almost feel embarrassed that I'm just now hearing songs like Slow Dancing in the Dark and Midsummer Madness. But at the same time, getting to experience all of Joji's music for the first time has been pretty special. And his story has also opened my eyes up to a lot, which I'll be sharing in this video. Unlike the idiots that have tried to cancel Joji because of his prior Filthy Frank persona, which, by the way,
Shut the f up.
I grew up watching a fair amount of Filthy Frank videos and knew he made the transition into a serious music career, yet as touched on, just never listened until now. I'm not gonna lie, I have a pretty weak stomach, so some of his older content was difficult for me to watch, especially classics like Hair Cake, but Filthy Frank, Pink Guy, and the rest of the lore on the channel is simply legendary. If you're not familiar with Joji's previous YouTube channels and characters, I'll give a quick rundown. However, this is not an episode of Before They Were Famous, so we'll keep this relatively short and to the point. Before Joji was selling out tours and working with the 88 Rising powerhouse, he was creating edgy, hilarious satire videos on YouTube. His first channel, Disaster Music, started back in 2008 and would birth the characters of Filthy Frank and Pink Guy, which I'm sure you have seen memed to this day. However, due to strikes and copyright affecting that channel, he decided to make a new one called TV Filthy Frank, where his audience would grow to over 7 million subscribers. He would also start putting out music through his Pink Guy character, even dropping a full project called Pink Season in January of 2017 that went on to chart on Billboard. Yet, these were comedic records and not even remotely close to what he makes now. Like basically the complete opposite. It was sad to see the Filthy Frank era come to an end in September of 2017, but the change needed to happen, and it also allowed him to start the next chapter of his life, which was Joji.
Hey, hi. Hello, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. It is time for a track review, time for thoughts on a brand new song, a brand new single. We have one from Joji, Gimme Love. Let's give this song a try.
That's exactly what I decided to do not too long ago when I saw Joji's music video for his track Gimme Love pop up in my recommended feed. Give it a try, which thank God I did. As a quote-unquote hip-hop YouTuber, I've spent the past 2 years making strictly rap-related content, almost getting comfortable with only listening to a certain style of genre and not branching out like I should have. Don't get me wrong, I still love artists like Juice WRLD and XXXTentacion, but trying new things as I'm slowly learning at the age of 23 only helps you grow as a person. Yeah, except for country music, that will always be trash. Anyways, long story short, the moment I clicked on this thumbnail, I was hooked. What first caught my attention were his vocals, the beautiful production, and the way the video was shot. The best artists can take you to new worlds with their music and make you forget about reality for 2 to 3 minutes. Needless to say, while listening to Gimme Love, I was instantly drawn into Joji's universe. I wasn't even sure what genre he fell under, as Gimme Love is a mix of upbeat production and a love ballad. But what I did know was that it was unique, told a story, and I had to hear more. Although I was tempted to jump right into his other hit records with millions of views, I made the decision to start at the beginning. So I hopped onto Genius and looked up his past work to find that Chloe Burbank Volume 1 was his first release.
This is not okay.
Well, not quite. According to Genius, this was supposed to be his debut project as Joji, yet never officially dropped. Only 2 songs titled Thom and You Suck Charlie are on the track list, and after doing some research, aka reading YouTube comments and Reddit threads, I guess there is still a lot of mystery surrounding this project. Starting my adventure into the artistic world of Joji with Gimme Love, a track released in 2020, then jumping all the way back to Chloe Burbank Volume 1, which dropped around 2015, was eye-opening to say the least. Both Thom and You Suck Charlie were great, with You Suck Charlie being my favorite of the 2, but it was clear that Joji had improved a lot, especially with his vocals and songwriting, only building my anticipation to check out his debut EP titled In Tongues.
What is this project about? Like, is there a theme that goes through it?
A big theme is like a personal theme. It's like I'm a naturally conflicted person.
Yeah.
I want one thing, but I want the exact opposite too.
Okay.
I guess the general feeling theme would be like kind of like a depressing, lonely horniness.
I think that's why I enjoyed In Tongues so much. The themes of the project are relatable. Although that may sound like a joke, it's the truth. Similar to Joji, I'm a very conflicted person. I mean, my goal is to become a full-time entertainer and create stuff like this, yet at the same time, I'm super shy and introverted. Also, I'm single, so what he said about the depressive, lonely horniness thing, unfortunately hits home. When you can relate to the message of a track, it will always leave a much greater impact, good or bad, which is why I feel Joji quickly became one of my favorite artists. Listening to his debut EP In Tongues that dropped on November 3rd of 2017, the tracks that stood out to me on first listen were Will He, Demons, and Window. So basically half the project, since there's only 6 songs on there. It's funny, just a month prior to listening to Joji, I got into the channel called Chilled Cow. If you are unfamiliar, the channel hosts a 24/7 lo-fi hip-hop radio stream. It's perfect to have playing in the background while doing things like working or writing. Yo, I'm way over here, by the way. Can you see me through the window? So hearing Joji create tracks with many elements of lo-fi on In Tongues was awesome, for lack of better words. This project felt like a much more polished version of the sound he was going for on Chloe Burbank Volume 1, with a nostalgic vibe present from start to finish, something that Joji has talked about in numerous interviews.
I like to keep the instrumentals very textural, whether it's water trickling or something. I just want to make sure that the instrumental is packed with sounds that make you feel good, you know, or make you feel nostalgic.
Looking at what publications like Pitchfork had to say about the EP, I know he was criticized for a lack of depth.
Stop this, please.
According to Michelle Kim. However, I loved the project and couldn't stop listening. The only thing to do next was move right on to his debut studio album titled Ballads 1. At least I thought. This is when I discovered the song Midsummer Madness, along with the rest of his work with the 88 Rising Collective. Words can't even describe how happy this track makes me feel, and if you've heard it yourself, which I can imagine a lot of you have, I'm sure it makes you feel the same way. With Joji on the hook and August 08, Rich Brian and the Higher Brothers coming through with the verses, they make for what may be the best summer anthem ever?
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Joji, Rich Brian? From what I've heard on their collab tapes, 88 Rising has a crazy talented roster of artists. If you don't know what 88 Rising is, it's basically a media company / record label that promotes talent from Asia, with a big focus on pushing their artists to the American market. I was a big fan of their superstar Rich Brian when he first broke onto the scene, repping the pink polo and fanny pack, but haven't listened to his solo work in a while and didn't know much about the others on the label. Yet because of Joji, I've been introduced to their music and can't wait to hear more. Also, 88 Rising's Head in the Clouds Festival is now on my must-see list after watching performances like this one. The more videos I watch of Joji, the more comments I see like these, making jokes or referring to his past as Filthy Frank. It's understandable why these comments are written, as he is one of the greatest YouTubers of all time, with one of the strongest fan bases as well. I mean, I even started the video off with the joke about pink guy, so I'm no different from the people commenting. But it also makes sense why Joji may be annoyed by this.
Is there ever a fear that fans won't embrace you outside of those personas?
That was a fear for a very long time. You know, people on the internet are mean. I was doing music hand in hand with the comedy stuff. The pink eye music started the same time as Filthy Frank. But I just didn't know if people would embrace the serious stuff. I wish I had the confidence, the self-confidence to switch earlier, because now it's working out pretty well.
I too have felt this way on a much smaller scale, obviously, worrying about the type of content I put out and catering towards what I think my audience will like, rather than creating what I'm truly passionate about. Hell, I wasn't even gonna make this video for those reasons. But after hearing Joji speak about his story, it helped me realize that you gotta focus on what makes you happy. I mean, could you imagine if he never made the transition into serious music? Yes, we may have gotten more great Filthy Frank content, but it would have been forced, and his debut studio album Ballads 1, featuring hits like Slow Dancing in the Dark, would have never existed.
I don't want a friend.
Joji's Slow Dancing in the Dark is a lovesick ode to a dying relationship. Produced by Chairlift's Patrick Wimberly and Joji himself, the cut is off of Joji's debut album Ballads 1.
Released on October 26th of 2018 and coming in at 12 tracks, this was by far his most complete body of work yet. Although it's not perfect, which let's be real, no album is, I loved how he took risks and was more experimental with his production and delivery. Which, by the way, I haven't really talked about this yet, but the fact that he produces a lot of his own stuff is pretty crazy. I also loved the visuals that came with the project. That's another aspect of Joji that sets him apart from the rest.
I know that you tweeted about gaining and losing a lot of weight for the Yeah Right video.
Yeah.
Can you explain what your vision was?
When I made that song, I felt really ugly. I think that's like what was behind the song. So it's like, I knew that I had the shoot for the art like in about a month. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna treat myself like just like eat whatever, just do whatever. Grew my hair out too, so it was just like, let's just make me look the worst.
Not many artists are open like that while being relatable, which is another reason why I believe his fan base is so loyal and enjoyed Ballads 1 as much as they did, including myself.
This next song is from an artist called Pink Guy. Love the cover, love the name.
Give me the beat and us.
Making his TV debut, performing Run. Please welcome Joji.
Hard to believe that within the span of a few years, Joji went from a meme in a pink suit being joked about on late night TV to performing on that same very show as a legitimate artist, promoting his second studio album titled Nectar, which is dropping in July of this year. This may sound corny, but over the past couple weeks of listening to Joji's music and learning more about his story, I've grown a lot. I've become more open to checking out new artists and realized that change is okay. It's important to take risks and focus on what inspires you, rather than worrying about what others may think. I know that may sound like an obvious concept, but sometimes you get so caught up in life, you forget. So with that being said, shout out to Joji for all the laughs, the positive vibes, and most importantly, creating music that makes me feel
sad and horny. You know what I mean?
Make it make sense, make it make sense. I can't hide a hat and a black tan. You were off the bullshit and the tablets on the 21, both savage. Oh, those pretty nights feel the same to me. Heart full of vain, no vacancy. Only one you're gonna pay when it's over. Can't look me in the eyes when you're sober. Hey, I'm the one you call when you're feeling low. Running up a track just to hit a go. I just wanna live in the